Okay, so what if I told you that instead of having to play poker with a ceiling and walls and air conditioning, there was a casino that let you play outdoors? All sarcasm aside, like many other things in life, I feel like this is a matter of perspective. On one end, you can look at this and say, who would want to play in 100-degree plus weather? On the other hand, at least there's a place to play, whereas other people don't have the opportunity, even year-round, without this pandemic going on. There's so many places where you don't even get to play poker in a live setting. So without getting too preachy, I'd rather look at the bright side. And speaking of bright, Lake Elsinore is definitely on the bright side today. It's over 110 degrees right now, and I'm about to head over and play some 5-5 no limit. They have like an outdoor setup with, I think they have like a canopy and some fans and some mist maybe. Anything to keep it slightly below the 112 degrees that it is right now. It looks like they're about to open the first 5-5 of the day, so time to wrap it up over here at the lake and head on over to the casino. Okay, a few things to go over before we get into the session. The games here are 9-handed with the plexiglass dividers and face masks, obviously outdoors as well. All these things due to the ongoing situation with COVID. More importantly though, there was a big fan right behind my table which kept blowing over the cards. It was kind of funny, a little bit frustrating though, because as the dealer pitched the cards to everyone, it seemed like at least once per round it would be a misdeal since so many cards were being exposed. That's gotta be a first on this channel for sure. Anyway, let's get into some hands here. In the first one, we're 6-handed and we see a cutoff open to $15. I'm on his left on the button looking down at ace-5 of diamonds. I decide to put in the raise to $55 and the cutoff makes the call. So we're gonna go heads up to a flop of ace-7 deuce with 1 diamond, and when he checks it to me, I think you can go either way between betting and checking. This time I decide to check back and see what he does on the turn card, which is the queen of diamonds, improving our hand to the nut flush draw along with top pair. So when he checks it to me for a second time, it's time to go for some value. I put in a bet of around half pot, $60. Unfortunately, my opponent folds. So not a lot of action this hand, but certainly a good start. A little while later, I look down at a premium on the button, so when there's a limper, I gotta raise it up to $25 with the 6-3 of hearts. The small blind makes the call and the limper makes the fold, so not exactly the anticipated result, but happy to play this hand in position nonetheless. The flop comes down king queen 6 with a heart, and similar to last hand, I think you can go either way between betting or checking. This time I decide to put in a bet just because this board texture is going to favor me so heavily. I make it $25 and my opponent makes the call. So we're probably looking for some improvement here on the turn, which comes right away. It's the 6 of spades giving us 3 of a kind. He checks it to me again, and I think it's time to size up a little bit here, just like I would with all my bluffs such as ace-jack, ace-10, jack-10, hands of that nature. So I put in a bet of $100. Sadly, my opponent folds, so no more action for us, but the most interesting part of this hand was when I returned my cards to the dealer, that fan behind me blew over one of the cards. Luckily, it was the 6, which makes me look a little bit better than if the 3 had blown over, but it's not often that your hand gets exposed by a random gust of wind. In the next one, I look down at ace queen offsuit from under the gun, so I open it up to $20 and get called by just the button. Heads up to a flop of 6-3 deuce rainbow. We're often still going to have the best hand here, but it's kind of hard to get value from worse, so I decide to check it and my opponent checks it back. Turn card is the deuce of diamonds, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. Once again, I check it. This time my opponent puts in a bet of $20. Not looking to go anywhere just yet, so I make the call, and we see a 10 of hearts on the river. I check it once again, and my opponent checks back this time, so expecting to win some small percentage of the time here. And it looks like this is one of those times because I show down the ace queen, and my opponent can't beat it. Moving on here, I look down at ace jack of clubs on the button, standard open to $20, and the big blind defense. This player in particular had been defending against pretty much all my raises, so it seems like he's maybe coming after me a little bit. I can't see his hands, obviously, so it could just be a coincidence, but it's something I'm starting to notice. Anyway, we're going heads up to a flop of ace king 4 rainbow. He checks it to me, and I put in a little bit of a bigger bet because, like I said, I feel like this guy is coming after me, so probably can get away with a little more value. To my surprise, upon betting $35, he announces a raise. It's pretty strange to have any raises on this board texture since I'm going to have all the strong hands and my opponent really shouldn't, but who am I to say? Even more curious is that the raise is only to $70, so a minimum raise. Not sure what's going on here, but I see nothing to do except make the call. We see a 7 of hearts on the turn, and he continues betting, this time to the tune of $145. I'm still not done with it, even though we could be behind sometimes here. But like I said, this opponent was giving me some bluffy vibes, so I'm going to keep going here. I put in the call, and we're off to see one last card, which is the 8 of hearts. This time he shuts it down and checks it to me. Not really sure if we can get value from worse here, so I just check it back and show my hand right away. I'm pretty certain he's bluffing, and no need to make someone show bluffs. So yeah, I just flip it over, and once again, this player gives it the head shake and folds. So we take down a decent sized pot here. A few hands later, there's a couple of limpers, and I check the big blind with queen 10 offsuit. The flop comes down 10 high. The small blind checks it. I decide to check it, and the player under the gun puts in a bet of $15. The small blind makes the call, and I proceed with just a call. The turn card looks amazing. It's the 10 of hearts. Once again, the small blind checks. I actually consider putting in a bet here since I feel like this card is going to get checked around fairly often, but decide against it and check it to him once again. Surprisingly though, he does not slow down. He puts in a bet of $45. The small blind makes the fold, and I think you can make a case for putting in a check raise here, but it seems like I'm not going to have a ton of bluffs as played, so I decided to just proceed with a call and keep my hand under repped. The river is the 7 of hearts, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. Once again, I check it to my opponent. This time he checks it back, and we see a hand that I definitely did not expect. Pocket kings here, played as an under the gun limp, so we were in pretty terrible shape before that turn card. Next, the action folds to me in the cutoff, and I look down at king 10. I think it's good enough for a raise, so I make it $20, and only the big blind makes the call. This is the same player I've been battling with a little bit, so keep that in mind as we go to a flop of king 9-5. He checks it to me, and I decide to check it back this time. Turn card is the 5 of diamonds, bringing in a backdoor flush draw and pairing the bottom card. He leads out for $35. Having under-repped our hand in the flop, definitely not going anywhere. Can't really get away with a raise either, I don't think, so that just leaves one option. I make the call, and we go to a river, which is the deuce of diamonds, completing the backdoor diamond draw. He puts in yet another bet, but pretty small. It's only $40. I actually contemplate raising for value here since I think my opponent could convince himself that I'm bluffing and actually call with a worse hand. It seems pretty thin and probably not recommended against most players, but like I said, the dynamic against this player was such that I thought it might work. But after thinking for a little bit, I decided to just take the more orthodox line and make the call, and we take it down against 10-9 of spades. A few orbits later, I look down at Jack 8 of diamonds on the button. Looks like a monster to me, so I make it $20 to go, and once again, the big blind defends. So heads up against this opponent one more time to a flop of ace 10-7 with 2 spades and 1 diamond. He checks it to me, and with a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, I'll definitely be putting in a bet here. No need to go too big just yet, so I make it $15, and my opponent makes the call. Turn card's interesting. It's the 7 of spades, pairing the bottom card and bringing in the flush. When he checks it to me, I'm just going to size up here and continue betting. He's not going to have a ton of strong hands here, and it's going to be difficult to hang on with anything worse than a flush, I think. So I size up here to $75, and after thinking for a little while, he proceeds with a call. The river is the 6 of spades, bringing 4 to a flush on the board, and when he checks it to me, we have a decision between just shutting down or going for it one more time. And I bet you guys know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for it here. I'm not going to have that many bluffs on this board, so no need to go too large here. And it's going to be really difficult to call without anything, like I said, better than a high flush. So I put in a bet of $125. He thinks for a really long time and eventually decides on a call. So that's not what we wanted to hear. I'm very surprised to get called with ace-4 with the 4 of spades. I mean, it just seems like you beat almost nothing, but I guess he must have read my mind because one of those almost nothing hands is the old jack-8 of diamonds. This next hand is for sure an interesting one. There's an early position limp, and I decide to isolate to $25 with ace-8 of spades. The big blind makes the call, which is a little concerning because this player had been playing fairly tight, and the limper calls as well. So we're going to go 3 ways here to a flop of ace-7-5 with 2 hearts. The big blind checks, and the limper decides to lead into me for $35. Pretty interesting, I think, to lead into the aggressor on an ace-high flop, but this is like Elsinore after all, where nothing should really be too surprising. I proceed with a call, and then the big blind makes the call as well, which is a little bit of a red flag. Turn is the 5 of diamonds, and as if this hand wasn't weird enough already, this time the big blind leads into the field for $35, the same bet that was placed on the turn by the limper. However, the limper folds this time. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm probably behind here, but for that price, can I really make the fold? You guys know the answer. Of course not. So I put in the call, and we go heads up to a river now, which is the king of diamonds. All things considered, I feel like this is a pretty good card because we're now chopping with all bigger aces, such as ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10, etc. And when he leads into me for $50, I feel like that's exactly what he's representing. It's just a big ace that is now no longer playing its kicker. He has around $150 or maybe $200 behind. And I think this is a great spot to move all in and try to get him off of a chop. So I hope that he's got what I think he's got. I raise all in, crossing my fingers that we don't get snap called. And it seems like the plan works because he goes deep into the tank. I really wish he had a little more behind though, because there's just so much in the pot that it seems unlikely he's gonna fold an ace, but it's certainly worth a try, and it almost works before my opponent reluctantly decides on a call. We show down, and indeed we were in trouble because he had ace queen, but we almost got away with it there on the river. Next, we see an under the gun limp before the button raises it to $20. I look down at pocket 8s in the big blind. I actually contemplate putting in a re-raise here since I feel like the button's going to be opening really wide. But I decide against it since playing middling pocket pairs in 3-bet pots is pretty difficult, especially out of position. So I just make the call, and then the limper calls as well. 3 ways to a flop of queen, queen, 7 with 2 diamonds. Action checks to the button, who puts in a continuation bet of $20. I make the call, and the limper gets out of the way. Heads up to a turn, which is the 6 of spades. I check it, and once again my opponent fires. Not too big though, just $30. I think it's close here. For that price, it seems like we don't have to be good that often to profitably make the call. So that's what I do. I put in the call, and we're off to see one last card, which comes the 9 of diamonds. I check it to him, and this time he checks it back. I flip over the pocket 8s, and we're good. The last hand we'll go over tonight is against an opponent who definitely fits under the maniac category. He sat down around 10 minutes ago, bought in for the max, and his very first hand he went all in with 5-3 of clubs after re-raising pre-flop. So yeah, this guy is for sure an action player. Anyway, in this hand, he opens under the gun to $20, and I look down at jacks on the button. I put in the raise to $70, and when the action gets back to him, what else is he supposed to do aside from move all in for $405, right? So that's what he does, and this is just a snap call, I think, against this player type. We have a really good hand, and we're probably in good shape against all the hands he would play this way. The board runs out 9 high, so seems like we're going to win this one, and indeed that's the case when my opponent flips over ace 9 of diamonds. So we take down one last decent sized pot before deciding to rack up and call it a night here.
All right, guys, so that's a wrap for the session. Hold on one second. It went much better than expected, especially considering that my brain was foggy the entire time with the 100-degree heat. All in all, I won a little over 1,000, which, like I said, great result. There was one key hand that I didn't get to film because I happened to be taking notes for a different hand. I defended the big blind with 8-6 after a few people called a $15 open, and I flopped an open-ended straight draw on a king-high board. I checked to the razor, but he actually checked it back. So we got to see a free turn card, which, as you probably guessed, was one of the good ones. It's an offsuit 4, giving us the nuts. And even better for us, the small blind puts out a pretty big bet, and this player had not been bluffing the entire session, so seems like a good situation for us. I'm going to proceed with a smooth call since there's not a lot of draws on the board and there could still be action left behind us. So I put in the $60 call and everyone else gets out of the way. River is equally amazing. It's a king, which should most likely give my opponent trip kings given how the action's gone so far. Sometimes we'll get coolered with full houses over straight or whatever, but nothing to do here. When he puts in a $100 bet with $200 behind, I'm just gonna get it all in and hope that he has a king. So that's what I do. My opponent goes in the tank for a really long time, which I take it as a good sign, and eventually puts in the call. I show the straight and we win. So that was a pretty sizable pot, which, like I said, unfortunate that I didn't get to film, but certainly was one of the components to a big win here at Lake Elsinore. One quick thing, if you guys haven't yet, follow me on Instagram where I post hand histories, etc., things of the sort. I get a lot of questions and stuff to my email, but I'm much more active on Instagram messages. So if you guys want to chat, that's probably the best spot to do it. If you guys give this video a thumbs up, I really appreciate that because I only came out here today to film this vlog for everyone out there. And lastly, make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet because there's many more of these vlogs coming in the near future. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Good luck at the tables. Peace.